we're now going to look at adding a key to our system. So we're going to make another door, which this time you must have a key in your inventory or on your character to allow you in. So just like you need a key to unlock some doors. So I don't want to actually edit the door we've made already. I want to make a separate door and a separate area as well. So before we go any further, could we make a separate area, a separate building, a new building, somewhere on our level? I'm going to create an extra area here, make it a little bit smaller. So I'm going to make it an extra building here with a new door in it. I'm not going to waste your time and build this in front of you, so I'm going to quickly skip to the part where I have got this building ready. So before moving on, quickly make another building like the one I'm about to make. Okay, so I quickly made this identical house almost, which hasn't got a door. So what I'd like us to do is to copy and paste that door. So Control C and Control V. The new one that's copied, we'll call it locked door. So we're going to use a completely different door, so I don't want us to accidentally mess up anything with this once working door, or will be continue working door. So pull our new door into the world, and let's put it in the doorway. There we go. So that door, currently identical to that, but a different blueprint is powering it. So open up our new locked door blueprint, and what I'd like us to do, I'd like us to get rid of most of this code. So anything from this part here, get rid of. So delete all of this, and there we go. So with this door, I'd basically like it so once we've opened the door, it remains open permanently, which is what it currently will do. If you test it, when you trigger it, the door opens, and you'll see that it doesn't actually come back up, or it shouldn't. There you go, it doesn't come back up. So you can see this as a collectible area, I suppose. Okay, once you've done that, we're going to actually make a key for this door, something that allows us to trigger this door. And you may have guessed it, it's going to be a blueprint. So click add and import, and we're going to do a new blueprint class, and we're going to do another actor, and call this key. Key will do. Now this key is also going to be part of a base, I suppose. So I believe in our starter content, let's have a look. In our props, yeah, perfect. There's a shelf here, a shelf which is actually remarkably a very similar color to the floor I made. So we've got a shelf. So I'm actually going to use that in my blueprint. So SM shelf is what that's called, and you're welcome to use that yourself as well. So into key, and the first thing I'm going to add is a static mesh. Here it is, and this is going to be called shelf. And I'm going to assign the SM shelf to it. So there we are. There's my shelf. I'm going to pull that up so it's around about this height here. Let's have a look how that looks in the world. So when I spawn it, rotate it a little bit, and there is the shelf. How high is that? Perfect. That shelf is a perfect height for me. I'm going to actually make it a little bit lighter so it's easy to see. So there we are. So the shelf is perfect. You'd be able to see a key sitting on that shelf. So back into here, I'm going to add another static mesh for the key. Now the key itself doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to look like an actual physical key. It could be anything you want. So I'm actually going to use imagine that the key is actually some sort of gem, which will open the door. So I'm just going to add another static mesh and call it key, and let's just add a sphere. So shape sphere, here it is. Now that's a little bit big for my liking, so let's make it a lot smaller. Here we go. So this is going to sit on the shelf. Make it There we go. So I'm going to imagine that this is some sort of gem which you would pick up. In fact, for this, I'm going to create a new material. And we're going to say blue glow. And then I'm going to push this forward and see, there we go. That blue will do. Just like last time, plug this in. There we are. And about 25 should do. So that's the blue glow of my key, and I'm going to apply it there. Blue glow. Have a look how that looks. There we are. So that is going to be my key. That's what I'm going to be able to pick up. It's a little bit hard to see because there's a light above it, but there it is. So before moving on, make sure that you've got something similar. It can be a 3D model of a key if you'd like. It can be anything, but some sort of object that you're going to pick up, which is going to open that door. I actually think, there we go. Yeah, if I delete that light, we can see the key a lot better. All right, let's have a look. Okay, so in order to actually interact with this key, in order to actually pick it up, we're going to need another box collision. So let's add a box collision, and we'll call this again trigger area. So I want to be able to pick up this key when my character is standing, let's say, in front of it. So there you go. If I'm standing in front of this key, I'm going to be able to pick it up. Perfect. Very similar to how we program the door. In fact, programming the door is the exact same process, or programming the key, or picking up the key, or interacting with the key is almost the exact same process. So much so that I'm actually going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to copy the code from the door itself. So first thing, I'm going to right click the the trigger area, right click the trigger area, and add event, and we're going to say begin overlap, and then I'm going to go to my door blueprint, and I'm going to copy all of this, literally all of it, apart from the second event. So Control C to copy that, Control V, paste it in, and plug everything in. So plug the branch in, plug the other actor in. Let's neaten this up a little bit. There we go. And then the only thing I need to do then is to right click the trigger area again, add event, and on component end overlap. There we go. Pull this in, plug it in, and there we go. That should work now. That should oh sorry, other after that. That should be perfect. That should now enable and disable input when we're in that trigger box, just like the door did. Let's just give it a quick test. String enter and exit. Okay, compile that. Let's have a look. If I walk into the key, enter, exit. You can see at the top left there. Enter, exit, enter, exit. Perfect. That's working. That collision, that registering my character is working. Okay, so back to the key. Now this is where it will differ a little bit. So instead of opening the door or anything like that, we need to actually remove the key, which is actually something we did to the door in the very first place. We removed the door instead of moving it. So let's do the same thing. I'm going to get rid of these print strings first to get rid of it, and let's type in interact. There it is, perfect. Now if you remember, we needed to check that the door last time and the key this time is actually valid. So we're going to pull a strand from here, and we're going to say is valid. Remember that little question mark there? Perfect. And we're going to check if the key is valid. So we're going to pull the key from the top left there and plug it in. Okay, if the key is valid, or in other words, if the key hasn't already been picked up let's just destroy it. Destroy component, and we're going to click key. Destroy component, key. There we go. Give it a go. Compile, minimize. Okay, so walk up to it and press E. I've picked it up. Or in theory, I've picked it up. To the player, it looks like you've picked it up. Perfect. Now, we haven't actually picked up that key. All we've done is deleted it from the world. So we now need to actually give us a way to collect this key. And we're going to do that by going to our character. So find your character blueprint. I believe I saved it in the game mode. We did. So use our player character. Double click this. Now we're not going to edit any of the code for our movement. What we're going to do is create a variable. Now a variable is basically something that holds some data. It holds something in it for us to use. Now on the left hand side here, we've got variables. So I'm going to click this plus to create a new variable. And we're simply going to call it number of keys. Number of keys. Perfect. Now click on that, and over on the right hand side in the details, it's going to give us our variable type, and that's going to describe the type of data that is supposed to be contained within that variable. Now currently it's set to Boolean, which is yes or no. Now if I asked you how many keys have you got and you said yes, that wouldn't make sense. So we need to change that from a Boolean to something else. And that something else is going to be an integer. So there you go, integer there. Now an integer is just a whole number. So how many keys do you have? 1, 2, 3. Or any whole number. That's fine, perfect. We don't want to use any decimals, which would be in a float. Because if you said how many keys have you got? I've got 4.6 keys. That doesn't quite make as much sense. So the integer data type is perfect for the variable. So compile, and what I'll do is actually give you a default value. So when the game starts, how many keys do you want to start off with? Well, currently 0 is perfect, so we don't need to change that. Okay, so now our player character has got the ability to actually hold keys, and multiple keys. So we can close down the player character. And we're back to our key blueprint. So when we actually pick up this component, when we destroy this component, we need to tell our character to increase the number of keys that it's carrying. So what we're going to do, we're going to get the player character. So right click underneath destroy component, and we're going to say get player character. There we go. So after that, we're going to pull a strand from the player character, and we're going to say cast to player character. Only one there, perfect. And plug it in. So now we're able to access our player character's data from a different blueprint, which is exactly what we need. So we need to now increment the amount of keys our character has. We're not going to set it to a value, because if we put multiple keys in our world, that means we'll always be setting it to one key. So you wouldn't be able to collect multiple keys. If we increment it, we just always add keys to our character. So we could end up holding 10, 12, 20 keys. If there's that many keys on the map. So I'd like us to pull a strand from the as player character pin here, and we're going to search for get number of keys, and that's literally going to get the number of keys from the variable. At the start of the game, it's going to be 0. We're then going to pull a strand from the number of keys, and we're going to say plus plus. So that should be, there we are. So you'll see increment int. So let me just show you that. If I did plus, you can see increment int there with a little cog on it. That's what we're going to use. I'm going to connect that up, and now that's going to increment the amount of keys that my character has. So let's just check that works. Okay, so it didn't crash, perfect. So that is incrementing the keys on my character. Back to keys. So before moving forward, let's make sure that's working. Let's make sure that we've got the correct amount of keys. So let's print string, and plug that in there. So it's going to do a quick conversion. This is going to print out the amount of the amount of keys that I have. Well, it should. So if you look at the top left, fantastic. I've got 1 key. So that's been added to my inventory, or added to my character. Okay, so before moving on to the next part, can you make sure that your code looks like this and your code functions like my code does? Again, if yours isn't working properly, if you're not incrementing your amount of keys, then go back to the video and double check what part you've missed before moving on.